Hello, in today's Zoho app overview we're going to be talking Zoho Vault. So once again, Zoho Vault is included in Zoho One, so if you're paying for that subscription already, you have this included for free, which is always nice to hear. Now, Zoho Vault is a password and secure documents management app. So this is great if, one, you have individual logins and things like that you want to keep track of, but two, if you have shared logins within a business that you need to share with the team. Instead of having those written down on a piece of paper or in a Teams chat or something like that, Zoho Vault gives you a centralized place to manage that. So this is very similar to something like 1Password or LastPass or any of those kind of password management apps you may have come across. What's great about this is where it's integrated into Zoho, it integrates into your existing user and group and team management. So I'm going to switch into Zoho Vault here. Now this is in my test system, so there's no real passwords in here thankfully, so I can show you everything. Now, there's a couple of ways you can use Zoho Vault. It is on the web. It also has an iPhone and Android app, and it also has a Chrome extension, which I think is also Safari and Edge and things like that as well. The extension's great because that's what allows it to sort of pop up and suggest passwords and remember passwords as you're using it. For the most part today, because this is a test system, I'm going to show you it within Vault itself. So when you first go into Vault, in my case it's empty, so there's nothing for it to show me, but I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a folder. So I'm actually going to delete this test one here and I will do it from scratch. So let's create a brand new folder, and let's say this is for marketing. I'm going to go in and create a marketing folder, and in that marketing folder I can then go in and start adding my passwords. So I can add in sites, passwords, addresses, payment cards and secure notes. Payment cards is particularly useful actually for if you want to store like bank card details so people can use it without having to have a copy of the bank card. For a first instance, we're going to go for site, and let's say it's marketing, so great, let's say this is for Adobe. So I'm going to select the template. If they don't have a template there, you can equally just go in and create custom site. You just fill in the details yourself. Or if you have the web extension, when you're logging in and creating an account, it will actually automatically save these details for you as well. So I'm going to go into sites. I'm going to say it's Adobe. It's going to ask what my email is. So I'm going to say it's jake@Garden Skylines, which is my test system here. And it's going to ask me my password. Now, if I don't have a password, I can actually have it generate a password for me. And I'd recommend you do this because this actually then means Zoho can generate you a secure password that it will then keep track of. Once I've done that, I can hit save, and we don't want Chrome to save our password because it's now saved within Zoho Vault. So I can now go in, copy that password, and what's great, if I've got this on a plate, if I've got this on a train or something like that, the person can't see my password because I'm just copying it behind the scenes, so it keeps it nice and secure, which I particularly like. It also works with two-factor as well. So let's just try and sign up for an account. Let's think about this. Let's go for BBC. So sign up for a BBC account. So I'm going to go into the BBC and I'm going to go into sign in and I'm going to go to register an account. I'm 13 or over and I'm going to give it my email address. I'm going to hit continue. In this case, it's going to send me a verification code, which is fine. So I'm just going to swap into Zoho Mail. Again, this is a test system, so there's nothing of importance in here. So I'm going to copy that link, just pop it in here. So when I do that, it's going to ask me for my password. And what I'm going to do is go back into Zoho Vault and I'm going to create a login for the BBC. They don't have a template, so I'm just going to go in and call it BBC. It's got my email in there automatically because it's remembered that. And it's automatically generated me a password, which is great. If I want, I can also give it the URL, so then I can quickly click through into the website as well. What I'll do is I'll just remove it so it's just the account bit and hit save. At this point, I can now go in and copy my password and pop that into the BBC. It's going to ask me some other information. Just fill this in quickly and register. So that will now create my account. Now, once I've done all of that, Zoho can also do two-factor authentication. So if I go into my BBC account and into settings, I can go into security and privacy, and now it's time to find out, does the BBC do two-factor? It looks like it doesn't, which isn't very helpful. Clearly should prep for these videos a little bit more. So if you have a service that does two-factor, i.e. you know where it comes up and it says enter your Google Authenticator code and things like that, you can actually do that in Zoho Vault as well. So it can actually go in and it goes into the one-time password field. So if I open this up, it goes into this one here, and that will generate your one-time password code within Vault. The reason that's important is then when you share the login detail with somebody, they've also got the one-time password. I've seen it so many times with businesses where they have a shared login. Let's take marketing, for example. There's a shared login they're using for Adobe. The two-factor goes to the marketing manager's phone. The marketing manager leaves for a different job, and all of a sudden nobody can get into the Adobe app because the two-factor went to a phone that's no longer in the business. This solves all of that problem because instead the two-factor code is in Zoho Vault, so it keeps that nice and secure. This is how we manage logging into our client systems. So we obviously log into lots of different Zoho systems for all of our different clients. The way we work is every client has a folder. Within that folder are all of the Zoho login details, and their two-factor is within that as well. So when one of my team needs to log into a client CRM system, they're able to go in and get the login details and the two-factor from Zoho Vault, and it's all kept nice and secure in the meantime. So it's a really good little feature there. Now, once we have our folders set up, we can then start sharing them. So if I go back to my folder view, I can click on here and go to more, and I can share folder. And I can either share with individual users, with user groups, or even with third parties if I want. And I particularly like the third parties because actually if you need to share, say, maybe you're working with a contractor briefly and you need to share with that person, you can pop their email address in and actually only share it for a set amount of time. What's also nice is when it does do the sharing, I'll show you this in a second. Just give it a moment to catch up. There you go, I can see that it sent the sharing link because I can see it's popped up on my other screen. It will actually come through like this. If I come across here, it will come through like this, and when I go to access the folder, it will actually then ask me for an encryption key, and that encryption key will be sent to the person that shared the folder, which effectively means it's almost a two-factor for sharing the password. So let's say I share this with a web developer, they first get a link, they then click the link, and then they need to enter a code which I send them separately. So it keeps things nice and secure. We do this again with all of our clients. So I often actually will suggest our clients use Zoho Vault for sharing login details with us. Very unhelpfully, Zoho has decided to be a little bit slow whilst doing these videos. Let's just close that for a minute and just open it again. You can see that these are all done live. No magic behind the cameras. This is Zoho for real. So if I go into my settings, I can also go in and manage lots of fine-grained controls over who can do what within Zoho Vault. So obviously I've got my users. I can enforce multi-factor as well. So if an app supports multi-factor, I can enable it to be enforced. I can import passwords from other places, including from web browsers, which is quite nice, but also from other password providers. I can export my passwords if I want. Obviously, again, that depends if you're the admin user and what you have access to. You can set password policies. So, for example, I've got a strong password policy. And what that means is any password generated must follow these rules. But I can also create additional policies as well. So I could create, say, a policy for limitless. And I can say passwords have to be a minimum of 20 characters length, maximum of 50. It has to start with a letter. It has to include mixed case. It has to include number. It has to include a special character. I can say it actually has to include 5 special characters. And for whatever reason, you're not allowed to use the letter L. I can also say passwords can only be recycled every 60 days, and then I can make that the default policy. So when I save that, what that will mean now is when I next go to generate a password, it will follow these rules. So it enforces that strictness. Now, I possibly wouldn't go this strict because this is a little bit extreme, but it gives you that ability to control what's happening within the system. Hopefully this is going to save in a moment and not continue to load. Ordinarily, Zoho Vault is very reliable. For something we use daily, we're having a few issues today. But yes, that's how you would create your different password policies. So it gives you a lot of flexibility within the app. You can also go in and do fine-grained controls around specifically what people can do. So you can disable or allow creating passwords, editing passwords, all sorts of little things as well. There's a lot of functionality in here. The main thing I think you're going to use Zoho Vault for, though, is sharing. And the way I would do that is under our users and then user groups, we can create a group. And what I would do is create a group for each department. So I would create a marketing department group. I would select which users need to be in that group. I would then create, say, a sales group. Again, select who needs to be in there. And you'll end up with a couple of different groups based on the different departments within your business. Then, whenever you create a new folder, you can share that folder with that group. So I can go in and say, right, this is shared with everybody in marketing. And I can either give them only one-click login, view, modify, or manage. I'm going to say anybody in marketing can manage. But this means sales won't be able to see any of the passwords in that folder whatsoever. I might then create a separate folder for sales. And look, I can actually add these two into here because they're not currently in a folder. And I'm going to create a folder. And I'm going to go in now and I'm going to share that folder. And again, it just gives me that ability to set up those different shared folders. So each per group has the right passwords that they need access to. And it's really as easy as that. Once you've set it up and you've started sharing it, the real challenge then becomes policing it, making sure whenever people are creating new logins and they are creating new accounts, the passwords go into here. And that way, everybody's got access to the things they need. All the passwords are being shared securely, and you know everything's taken an account for. It means if somebody leaves the business suddenly, you've still got access to the things that you need access to without them having taken the two factors or even the passwords away with them and you not knowing how to use it. So again, this is a free app. If you're using Zoho One, it's included in your subscription. So it's what I strongly recommend taking a look at, as most businesses would benefit from a password manager. If you have any questions or anything more you'd like to know, just let me know. Speak to you soon. Bye.